reflexive verbs, when you're referring to yourself, doing things for yourself or to yourself, you also use it when someone does something to themselves, him or herself, or for him or herself. And you always know a verb is reflexive if it ends in se. Okay. The endings for them, well, not the endings, but the pronouns you use for them are me in the yo form, te for two, se and the usted, el, nos for io and nosotros and all that, se for ustedes. The steps to it are you drop the se from the end of the verb. So right here, you drop the se. Choose the correct reflexive pronoun that agrees with the subject. So yo, you have to choose the right one, which would be me. 3, you take off the se off the end of the verb and put it in the front with the correct pronoun. So you take that se and put it over here in the me form. And then you're left with an ayer, or ir verb, and you just conjugate it. So yo, me.
Bless you.
Okay. There are some irregular verbs, and it's just the same. You're conjugating the actual irregular verb the same way you would conjugate an irregular verb, and you're just doing the same thing with the pronouns. So like there are O to UE changes and E to IE for words like that.
Important thing to make sure that we pay attention to is that the reflexive pronouns, no matter what you're talking about, if a verb ends in SE, you will always have the pronouns exactly the same. So the me, te, se, nos, and se is exactly the same in the present, exactly the same in the preterite, and exactly the same when she's talking about here with the ones that change the O to UE or E to IE. You would still use the reflexive pronouns all exactly the same way. Now, this is only if you have one verb. What happens if you have a second verb that's a reflexive verb?
You do the same as what you did with the DOPs, you just add it on to the end.
Mm-hmm. So the placement is the exact same as what we talked about with DOPs. Here, if I want to say I need to get up, the first verb would be conjugated. The second verb would not get conjugated. And then me would get attached at the end. So yo necesito levantarme, attached at the end of the second verb is where you would put it if you had two verbs. So you still don't conjugate your second one. And no, I'm not sure if you mentioned or not. Just put a no if you don't need to get up, or if you want to make it negative. Turn that off for us, please. But we're doing these in the present or preterite. So you have to know your present tense endings. You have to know your preterite tense endings, both of which we've done on separate presentations there. And you, which one did you do? On the present.
There's a mixture of both.
Okay, and that's what I want to make sure that on the way that we practice these, you're going to have to look for these keywords that are in your review to let you know if you're doing them in the present tense or preterite. So let's do some of these and see what we have. Reflexive pronouns stay the same. What changes is your conjugation. Okay, go ahead.
All right, guys. What would be number 1? Does anyone by chance know it?
What is the verb to enjoy oneself? Good.
Now, when you conjugate it, it would be what?
Now, would it be present or preterite? Right, so if you did me divierto, it would be present tense, but you can't say I have fun yesterday. You want to say I had fun yesterday. So you just make sure that you conjugate it with the preterite endings, but the me would stay the same there. Okay. What is to dress oneself? Good, vestirse. And so it would be te. Anybody remember what happens with vestirse? Eat I.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So it would be te, vistas.
But it only changes E to I in what tense?
So
And we're doing this in present because there's nothing that indicates preterite. So if it's present tense, you gotta watch out for the ones that make the change. Only present tense has the ODUE, E to I. Preterite does not have that. And I believe we did. Vestirse would be in the preterite if we did it here, if we added the word ayer instead of mañana there. You, instead of you get dressed tomorrow, you got dressed yesterday. it would still be an E to I change. The difference is it's an E to I change in the basement as opposed to an E to I change in the boot, which would be present tense. Okay, so just be careful with the difference between those. But if there's no key word to let you know that it's preterite past tense, then you assume that it's present tense.